Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? Like, it seems like he's going to be on loan, like, permanently. So even next year he's going to be on loan still. Huddersfield are getting good at these deals, aren't they? They did it with the Wardle and what's his face
Ranking.
swap. Rankin swap was a loan.
Yeah.
That went over 2 seasons. But probably a player that should be playing, and if Huddersfield weren't going to play him and Salford are, then fair enough.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, yeah. You always want a youngster to get a chance, don't you? So yeah,
Didn't he come
sounds
through
good.
at the Bulls?
It's a name that rings the bell,
Yeah.
but we've had a lot of players through our doors.
Teams from Wales and England have brought the numbers of teams set to compete in the proposed Euro 13s tournament to 10. Birmingham Jaguars, although are they Worcester Jaguars now? I'm very confused. Are the latest names to be announced following a couple of days ago's revelation that the Ronda Outlaws will also take their place in the competition. The Jaguars are a brand new club, while the Outlaws already operate 4 teams, including a women's squad and a junior side. They have previously competed in the Challenge Cup in the Welsh Premier League. The Jaguars join Outlaws and clubs from countries including Ireland, Netherlands, Belgium, Sweden, Czech Republic, Hungary, Spain and Turkey. In fact, I think I can name those clubs that are in the competition, if you just bear with me. Somewhere I had it in front of me. The Dublin Blues, the Rotterdam Pitbulls, the North Brussels Gorillas, the Skane Stags, Budapest, Valencia Hurricanes, of course, Anadolu 13, and the Vrslabi Mad Squirrels. The other teams confirmed so far. It seems that this league is going ahead. That founded by Dean Buchan, who seems to be involved in a lot of these clubs as well as including the Valencia Hurricanes. It's apparently I've seen reports on Total RL that that a professional English club from League One applied to take part in the competition, but basically was told no, you're too advanced for this competition.
Yes.
They're talking about it being a developmental, amateur league, I guess. Certainly.
Yeah, which is what that's where these teams are, aren't they? When we've seen when Valencia played Featherstone, they kind of they were on the big side of a score, as you'd expect. But yeah, that indicates where these teams are. So they're completely right to pitch it as a developmental cup competition initially. Yeah,
I
that's
think
what it is.
There's maybe a bit of beef developing in the Midlands about this team kind of jumping in and effectively trying to hoover up players from clubs that have spent years trying to build their own kind of infrastructures, and I'm talking community clubs as well as League One clubs. So I think there's a bit of confusion there about what these teams are doing, these English teams that want to play in this Euro competition. Kind of, it does seem a little bit why they don't want to be in the RFL structure. What kind of link does there need to be? This seems to be a completely separate body, so obviously these teams must sit outside of things like the Challenge Cup and things like that. I think it's great that we've got this developmental league that people are so keen to work on, and probably it would benefit from having English teams in there to an extent, or at least these teams playing against English teams. But do you think it'd really benefit the English game to have teams within that league? I sort of think maybe arrange friendlies and tour matches to sort of pad out those teams' calendars against English amateur clubs, maybe. But rather than splinter our own expansion areas within this country, I'm not sure, because we've seen that before where some of the expansion teams in certain regions have tried to join a league within a different region because they felt we're better playing at a higher level, but actually that worked out badly for the regional league and for that team in those instances a lot of the time, whereas occasional competition through things like the Harry Jepson Cup and other arranged events, Nines events, that sort of stuff is probably more sustainable way to link these teams to different competitions. I don't know. I don't like the idea of splintering off the development areas and causing friction in those areas when everyone should be working together. But at the same time, I do think we need to support people's initiatives in getting more tournament play played to build up the standard of other nations.
Yeah, I mean, I freely admit I don't know enough about the number of potential players and the quality of potential recruits in the Midlands. So, other people are much better placed to talk about that. One thing I do agree with on this is that the interest that it's garnered in terms of the original number of applications, is a good thing. The fact that it actually appears to have, I would argue that this is almost rattling the cage of the European Federation, and it's saying, you've been talking about this for ages, you didn't do anything, so we've just gone and done it.
Yeah.
And there's something in asking for forgiveness, not permission. That's it's a way of going about things, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it, because if you set aside the English representation, from what I know of these other teams, they are of that kind of level where they need to step up to something higher than they're already at. But the only way that they can do that is working across the continent at the moment. So I mean, this Birmingham / Worcester bid, obviously I hope they're not, cannibalising other squads, obviously. But, when you talk about the total player pool for rugby league, we are in no way meeting the potential in terms of the number of, young adults and people who want to play this sport. So, a bit of competition for me, fundamentally, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, and I think there is a good opportunity here for Super League clubs, RFL accredited clubs, to kind of offer not support, but not like financial support. Obviously, we're not in any position to offer any of that nowadays, but kind of community support, links to these clubs, so that these clubs can come over and maybe share some time at a training base, go and watch a match, make these people feel more part of the rugby league community, which is a great possibility. I don't want those positive possibilities to be undermined by warring factions in development regions in this country. And I don't really see why English clubs need to be in the competition.
I don't really, but then again, I don't know what the quality of competitions they would be involved in that are Midlands based. As I said, I don't know enough about it, so it's a bit difficult for me to say. But if I understand some of these teams and the standard that they're playing at, a team that is of a reasonable quality that's maybe a rung below League One, this is probably the right kind of level for them. So I don't see what the problem is.
What's to stop Wigan St Pat's or West Hull or Hunslet Old Boys or I don't know, Egremont or whatever applying to be in it? That seems like they would just run roughshod over the league. Yeah, where obviously Birmingham's Birmingham or Worcester or South Wales or whatever, these places, they're a different kettle of fish, aren't they? We do recognise that.
And this is why they are they're selecting from applicants rather than a come one come all type thing. I would hope that the 16 that they've picked will have a reasonable level of competitiveness to be able to play each other and not have blowout scores every week, or in one-off cup games. So that's why you select 16. The well-established community clubs have nothing really to gain.
No.
In taking part in this competition. If one of those well-known clubs went to Rotterdam and got beat by the Pitbulls, for example, that they've got that doesn't gain them anything, does it? They might go there on tour as a bit of a jolly.
That's kind of what I think we should be working on our own kind of expansion areas and working with other competitions like this one as a kind of touring scenario rather than a participating scenario.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We've spent ages trying to get something consistent in Scotland, for example, and we haven't, have we, at the moment? So
no.
So maybe
that's what I mean about it.
Maybe someone else coming in and saying we'll take it into our own hands. Yeah, like you say.
Exactly. Yeah, I do think this is the European Federation have not been active enough, and they haven't done enough for a number of these kind of leagues. And yeah, I think ultimately, I think some people have got frustrated with that, and they've decided to take some steps.
Another sort of side story from Europe, although not related to the Euro 13s, the Association of Russian Rugby League Clubs Board of Directors has announced Alexander Kolikov as its new president. Kolikov has been involved with the sport in the country since 1983, and before it was Russia, and as a highly regarded player and coach of Spartak Moscow, brings a wealth of experience to his new role. He also has a track record in boxing and wrestling. There you go. And then the sort of final normal. This isn't normal, but
what's normal?
Yeah, I don't know. The final kind of thing to talk about in the news before we talk about the coronavirus news is the statement that the Rugby Football League, Super League, Rugby League Cares have all released as a joint statement about Rugby League sort of standing solidarity against racism is a headline to the statement. So the I think it's worth dwelling on this a little bit and reading it out because and it kind of does link into the next topic in a weird way because disenfranchised, disadvantaged people in our society, which rugby league communities contain a lot of those types of people, have been disproportionately affected by the coronavirus, and so people who the system discriminates against are kind of important right now. So the statement we'll read out says, Black Lives Matter and the sport of rugby league stands in solidarity with players, coaches, fans, volunteers, staff and supporters in the struggle against racism and discrimination. As a sport, we have been sharing, reflecting and we have been listening. And we will continue to listen and learn from lived experiences of black players, coaches and supporters, to share ideas and to check the challenge ourselves to do more and be better. Rugby league is already a powerful force for good in many ways, and this reach and care can be a powerful force in our communities in the fight against racism. Together, rugby league can work to be actively anti-racist and to stand stronger with the black community. We will focus on the actions we can take now and continuous improvement. This means we'll redouble our efforts to increase the number of black and minority ethnic players, coaches, administrators, volunteers, fans and supporters. The organisations in the sport will be unequivocal in how we deal with racism, and together we will make stronger use of our platform to be anti-racism campaigners. Rugby league has been enriched throughout its history with outstanding black players, captains and coaches. We are all proud of that. We are of clubs, foundations and projects which have continue to reach to BAME participants, fans and communities through their pathways and programmes. We must now bring together all the learnings from the past without living in it. We are an honest sport and we are acknowledging the reality that in our 125th year our sport is not fully representative of the communities in which we are based. Whether that is on a professional or community pitches, in clubhouses, on terraces, in boardrooms, in the media and in our community work. And that means the sport misses out on immense talent, passion, skills and experience and opportunities to connect, learn, grow and expand. By owning the issues together and being honest, we can address barriers and make changes together. There's not much more left. Inclusion and diversity plans are embedded in the work of the national governing body and clubs and foundations and Rugby League Cares, the sports charity, community clubs and education partners, and the theme drives the work of the Rugby League World Cup 2021. There is a huge opportunity to do more and be better now as we look ahead to the most inclusive World Cup ever held. For the first time, the World Cup will stage 3 competitions, men's, women's and wheelchair rugby league, in one inspirational tournament. It will be a celebration of the development of a sport formed in England in 1895 and now set to welcome teams from around the world. We have an opportunity that we must take to connect with everyone in our communities and welcome new audiences by listening, learning and acting. So there's actually going to be sort of a session facilitated